In an earlier episode, we uncovered a series of disturbing encounters tied to a creature long feared in Navajo tradition. Witnesses described something that moved with impossible speed, mimicked familiar voices, and lingered along the empty highways and forgotten lands of the American Southwest. Those stories alone were enough to unsettle even the most skeptical listener. Yet they were only the beginning. Since that episode aired, additional reports have surfaced, each reinforcing the same terrifying pattern. Different people, different locations, but the same presence. A figure glimpsed just beyond the edge of light. Footsteps where no one should be walking. Voices calling out in tones that felt almost right, but never quite human. What makes these accounts especially disturbing is their consistency. The witnesses are separated by geography, culture, and time. Yet they describe the same unnatural details. Figures shaped like people but moving incorrectly. Limbs that seem too long. Posture that bends forward unnaturally. And eyes that reflect light, with an intelligence that feels intrusive. Many victims speak of an overwhelming sense of being watched long before they ever see anything at all. For them, fear begins not with a sighting, but with the certainty that something has already noticed them. These experiences often mark a dividing line in the witnesses' lives. Before the encounter, the world feels familiar and predictable. Afterward, every shadow carries weight. Every sound feels deliberate. Many come to believe they were not simply startled by an animal or illusion, but targeted. Studied, hunted. In this episode, we examine 4 such encounters. Each unfolded in a different environment, involved different people, and yet shared the same disturbing core. Together they suggest the presence of something ancient and intelligent that still roams the Southwest. Observing from the darkness, whether these incidents involve a single entity or something far more complex. In the winter of 2010, a family living in a rural stretch of Utah experienced a series of events that would haunt them for years. Their home stood miles from the nearest town, surrounded by open fields and woodland that appeared peaceful by day, but oppressive after nightfall. That December arrived colder than usual, and snow blanketed the property in heavy silence. The first incident occurred just after 9 one evening, when the family's 9-year-old son stepped outside to collect firewood. Their golden retriever followed him to the porch, then froze. The dog refused to step into the yard, its body rigid eyes locked on the tree line. Moments later, a bark echoed from the far edge of the property. It sounded exactly like their dog, when a second identical bark came from near the barn. The boy panicked and ran back inside. The following night, a heavy impact shook the side of the house. The father investigated but found no broken branches, no footprints, only a smooth depression in the snow beside the wall, as if something large had rested there without leaving tracks 2 nights later. The mother saw a pale face pressed close to the kitchen window. Its eyes reflected the indoor light in a way no human should. When her husband rushed outside, the snow beneath the window was untouched. On December 23rd, the father heard his wife's voice calling his name from the field, then his daughter's voice crying for help. A tall figure emerged at the edge of the property, arms hanging too low, its head shifting as though unable to hold shape. He fled as something scraped its fingers. Along the siding of the house, for hours by morning, a single line of impossibly spaced impressions lead away into the fields. The family moved the following spring, convinced the creature had come for them deliberately. In 1998, retired Navajo Ranger Edward Nez revisited a welfare case involving an elderly couple living near Mexican water. Thomas and Evelyn Yazzie had lived on the land their entire lives, tending sheep near a dry ravine behind their home. Their daughter contacted authorities repeatedly, troubled by things her parents would not fully explain. Evelyn first noticed the disturbances late one summer. General, knocking at the living room window. With no one outside, a voice softly calling her name. Sometimes sounding like her husband, other times like her sister, who lived hours away. These incidents grew more frequent, always occurring at night. One evening, she saw a tall figure standing motionless near the house, facing the windows when she looked away and back again. It was gone around the same time. Thomas began sleepwalking. He would stand in doorways, head tilted as though listening, then paced slowly down the hallway before returning to bed with no memory of it. One night, Evelyn heard measured footsteps outside the bedroom window. Looking out, she saw a tall figure pacing the yard in a precise rhythm. When she turned awake, she found the bed empty. He was in the hallway sleepwalking, pacing in perfect synchronization with the figure outside. Each pause and turn matched exactly. The couple eventually left the property. Ness found faint impressions outside, but nothing conclusive in his private notes. He recorded only that something had taken an interest in the family. Why? He cannot say. In February 2014, highway maintenance worker Jacob Thorne was clearing a remote ridge road between Monticello and Blanding during a heavy snowstorm late into his shift. He noticed a dark figure appearing intermittently at the edge of his headlights. It walked just ahead of the plow, vanishing whenever visibility dropped. Soon after, his radio crackled, with what sounded like his supervisor reporting a stalled vehicle ahead. The message was brief and distorted. Later, Thorne discovered no such transmission had been made. As he continued, he noticed a single line of deep footprints, appearing briefly before being erased by the blade. The stride was too long, the impressions too deep. Near the far side of the ridge, the headlights illuminated a tall figure standing directly in the road. It did not move as he braked hard. When he stopped, it vanished. The footprints beneath the plow LED toward the cab. Not away, there were no tracks leaving the road. Thorne completed his shift in silence. Later, he learned no other vehicles had been logged in the area. That night, the storm had been too severe for anyone to be there. In February 2015, a family in northern New Mexico searched desperately for their 9-year-old daughter, Hannah, after she vanished near the woods behind their home. As darkness approached, her older sister, Megan, spotted Hannah entering an abandoned farmhouse near the creek. She followed her inside, calling out, but found the house empty. As Megan turned to leave, she felt a light tap on her shoulder. When she shone her torch down the hallway, a tall, dark figure stood at the far end, its limbs elongated, eyes reflecting the beam with a cold intelligence. It did not move. Megan fled the house screaming. Hannah was found later that night near the edge of the woods unharmed, but unable to explain where she had been. She would only say that someone else had been watching her. From that day forward, the family never allowed the children outside alone. Megan would later say the figure never chased her. It didn't need to. It had already proven it could get close enough to touch.